Yeah, when I was doing the podcast, I just found a list of different horrible knock-knock jokes.
Things I like really bad jokes. I love Christmas cracker jokes. It's like, Eric, how do lions like their steak?
How do they?
Raw.
Yeah, I think you told that one in a top 10.
It's so good though, isn't it? Oh, have you heard about that book that's been written about how to fight tigers by Claude Balls? In the world of acting, the term phony, I keep saying phoning in it. I'm not phoning this one in.
Yeah.
In the world of acting, the term phoning it in is often used to describe an actor who clearly could not have given less of a shit about the role they're playing in the movie. For the most part, the term is meant to be metaphorical, with the notable exception of Andy Serkis, who quite literally phoned in his performance as Caesar the Wonder Ape from the Rise of the Planet of the Apes series.
Wait, he phoned it in?
Literally, yes, but we'll get to that in a moment, far away, Eric. Because first, let's talk about just phoning it in as a concept, because there is something just almost heroic about an actor who's been paid millions of dollars sometimes to just give a shit performance.
Norris?
Put that back.
And the fact that no one calls them on it is it's like, it's heroic in a way. They're being paid millions of dollars to give a performance and they just don't do it. And do you have any favourite examples of actors who just clearly could not give less of a shit about the role they're playing in a movie, TV show, or animated feature? Audience at home, let us know your favourite.
Yeah, actually, Bill Murray in Ghostbusters the video game. Everyone else cares about their lines in that game, but Bill Murray is just monotone. He's just I'm way too cool to be here.
Think we're stuck in the elevator. We need some help.
Think we're stuck. Well, let's see. Think we're stuck. Think we're stuck. Think we're stuck.
You could just say Bill Murray in anything he's ever done post Ghostbusters. The guy could not give less of a fuck. And have you heard about how that actually screwed him over?
No, I didn't.
So someone's doing work outside my apartment. Let me go shut my window because someone's just doing work outside. Ugh. Right, yeah, there's a guy drilling concrete. So we might just hear some dude drilling concrete in 5 minutes when we're making this video. Because spoilers, Fact Fiend's back because I've got a mortgage now. And there's repairs happening to the place that I'm living, so that mortgage might go up. So I did that with Lucas. Hey Lucas, do you want to make Fact Fiend videos again? He's like, yeah, sure, why not? It's like, yeah, what mortgage, mate? Perfect. Oh yeah, Bill Murray. So, do you know that he appeared in that crappy Garfield movie?
Yeah.
Have you ever heard about
did two, didn't he?
He did two, yeah. He accidentally signed on for the sequel as well. Have you ever heard about how he signed on for that?
The original Fat Cat.
I'm just big boned, okay?
Well, Bill Murray claims that the only reason he signed on to that movie is because he thought it was a Coen Brothers production. Because he saw that it was written by a guy called Joel Coen. And it turns out it wasn't the Coen Brothers. It was a guy called Joel Coen, Cohen. And he was just told, oh yeah, so-and-so Cohen is directing a Garfield movie they want you to be in. He's like, yeah, sure, I'll be in that. Not realising he's just a guy with a similar sounding name.
Yeah.
But the rumour is, he tried to give an intentionally bad performance so that they would just fire him and get somebody else in. But the problem is, he was playing Garfield. So when he gave his line readings in the most disinterested, could not give a fuck manner, it just, well, that's perfect. That's what Garfield sounds like.
What could be worse than Monday?
Hi, Garfield.
What could be worse than Monday, Garfield?
So he ended up making the performance better because obviously Garfield's whole thing is that he doesn't care. So Bill Murray not giving a shit made the performance what they wanted.
Yeah.
So him not trying to give a good performance accidentally gave a good performance. He's like, God damn it.
My life has been saved by the miracle of lasagna.
And I guess we couldn't move on without mentioning Harrison Ford in the theatrical cut, I believe, of Blade Runner, where the studio didn't think the audience would understand the concept. So had Harrison Ford record a narration over the top, and the rumor is that Harrison Ford intentionally recorded the narration as poorly as possible so that it wouldn't get used, and then they ended up using it anyway.
Yeah, it's like some cheesy fucking noir detective shit.
They don't advertise for killers in a newspaper. That was my profession. Ex-cop. Ex-Blade Runner. Ex-killer.
It's kind of great in a way.
It sounds like he's reading it at gunpoint. Like, you can almost hear the person, like, cocking a gun off screen. Like, it sounds that forced, and they put it in the movie.
The charmer's name was Gaff. I'd seen him around. Brian must have upped him to the Blade Runner unit. That gibberish he talked was city speak.
Which is just great, right?
I mean, to be fair, people don't understand that movie in the first place. Like, Harrison Ford's character is not supposed to be a good guy.
Do you know who else doesn't understand that movie? Ridley Scott. Ridley Scott doesn't understand it. Because when he was, like, doing, like, the super mega ultimate director's cut, was like 8.5 hours long or some bollocks like that. Like, he said, oh yeah, like, Deckard's a replicant. And he released this, like, huge big statement about why he's a replicant. It's like, you don't understand, dear Mr. Scott.
I wonder if he was just, like, stirring the pot to get people, because he knew people would, like, that would set the internet on fire, and he's just at the point where he doesn't give a shit.
I would have believed that if he didn't, like, you know, write and direct fucking Prometheus.
Yes! Oh my god. Like, this dude's... Okay, so I've been doing some research for another Alien video, alright? And apparently, in 2014, Ridley Scott was set to direct, like, a show called Pharaoh, and it was gonna deal with the ancient astronauts conspiracy theory. Like, he's all over that shit. Like,
I would watch that movie.
They taught humans how to build, and were worshipped as gods.
oh, I'd sit there. I'd be so angry. That would give me an aneurysm. That's what would kill me.
Is that what made Ridley Scott go crazy then? He just got super deep into ancient aliens, and that made him an idiot. He rot his brain.
You know, I think so. Because, like, a lot of people will sit there and say, oh, Prometheus is cosmic horror. Prometheus is, you know, at the mountains of madness, basically. It's inspired by it. But it's not. It's inspired by At the Mountains of Madness, but Ancient Astronauts... that shit is the opposite of cosmic horror. Cosmic horror is about, you know, putting humanity in its place. You know,
it's cosmic.
We're a cosmic speck, right? And like, Ancient Astronauts is all about talking about how special we are as humanity. You know, it's all about putting humanity at the center stage. Yep. And like, there's these deleted commentaries or what have you, or deleted scenes where the engineers are talking to David, and like, the engineers are talking about how they, you know, gave us Eden and sent us Space Jesus and shit. And it's the dumbest goddamn shit you've ever heard. It's terrible.
We are creators. We are gods. And gods never die.
For context, Eric is a sci-fi writer, so he knows what the fuck he's talking about. He's on this video as a guest because he has a wonderful video essay about this very topic, which you can check out right now. Hint, hint, the channel's back to promote my friend's stuff. It's so dumb. It's like the ancient alien stuff is. And it always will be to me of just people who are too stupid to figure out how ancient people did something, so just assuming aliens did it. It's like, how the fuck did they build the pyramids? Because I couldn't do that. And it's like, well, it's a good job people smarter than you lived back then. It's like, right. You don't think ancient people figured out that stacking rocks on top of each other made a roughly triangular shape?
And they basically figured out how they did it now.
Yeah, it's like a guy who built Stonehenge in his back garden to prove like you could do it with like ancient resources. Or like, my favourite is just, I've never been able to find the clip, but it was like one of those random ancient alien shows I was watching on like the History Channel at 2 a.m. when I was visiting my mum's house, because she actually has like satellite TV. And it was just like this bit where you have the ancient alien theory. So like, look, There's no way that the Egyptians could have like built the pyramids, because there's no way they could have figured out how to stack blocks on soft sand. And it is a shot that I will never forget of like flawless comedic timing in which Smash cuts to these ancient alien theorists in a sand pit playing with blocks. Showing that there's no way to do it. Look, you can't stack up. You put the blocks down and they sink. Ignoring the fact the blocks weigh like 1,000,000 fucking pounds or whatever. And then like the skeptic comes over and just pours water into the sand pit and puts the block down really securely. It's like, do you think maybe the Egyptians figured this out as well?
Dry sand in the desert caused significant drag and would create a sand berm in front of the sled as it moved forward. Researchers' new interpretation of an ancient Egyptian painting shows workers may have poured water onto the sand in front of the sleds.
And you just see, like, the ancient alien people, their entire worldview crumbles in front of them. They decide what's more embarrassing, doubling down or admitting I'm wrong. Of course, admitting I'm wrong, they double the fuck down and say, maybe the aliens showed them how to do that. And it's like, God damn it.
Yeah, the show is also notorious for, like, purposefully getting shit wrong. So it's not just like, oh, they're stupid. They're willfully ignorant.
Of course,
and they're spreading this stuff because they know people are gullible. It's a technique called gish galloping, and it's was basically created by a guy named Dwayne Gish, who was a young Earth creationist, and every time a professor would give a speech on evolution or what have you, he would just spew every kind of misinformation you could fucking imagine about the theory of evolution to confuse people, and it worked.
It's
People
like
are still
Russian fire hose
Right.
thing, isn't it? Of just spew out so much propaganda that your opponent can't possibly debunk it all, so somebody gets through. You know, and speaking of just speaking wildly in an excited fashion, let's go to the opposite of phoning it in now and talk about just overacting and gnawing on the scenery. Do you have any favourite, like, just overacting or gnawing on the scenery performances? And right away I'm going to say Willem Dafoe as the Green Goblin. Just right
yeah.
right
And
away.
in The Lighthouse with the opposite Robert Pattinson.
Yes.
The Lighthouse is fantastic. May or may
Willem
not
Dafoe,
be cosmic horror, depending on how you read it.
Your little accident in the laboratory. Performance enhancers. Bingo. Me. Your greatest creation.
Well, that's one of the beauties of like interpreting media, isn't it? Of like, you know, you can interpret media in many different ways, which is why discussing it is often so fascinating and something that I highly encourage people to do. Of like, you know, develop your sense of media literacy so you can have fun talking about your favourite bits of media with people who, like, you know, want to discuss it with you. It's super fun. Trust me.
It is.
Great. Like, talking about media is great when your primary concern isn't whether or not black people and women are in it. There's so many other conversations you can have. And they're all infinitely more interesting.
Just wait until they figure out what metaphors are.
Oh, no. It's like, I forget what it was now. Where I was, it was, I think it was on, like, Zack Snyder. I forget which one of them.
Oh, no.
I think it was the Justice League. No, it was his zombie movie. His zombie movie, like the, not Dawn of the Dead, which is actually pretty competent. It was like his Army
that
of
one
the
was
Dead,
good.
I think. Where, like,
I didn't watch it. It came out on Netflix, right?
Yeah, it was weird, and it had, like, rape zombies in it and stuff like that, which kind of sucks, but it was going to have rape zombies in it because Zack Snyder lives on a planet called On the Nose, and he lives right on the edge of it. But he was in the trailer. They used a cover of the Cranberries song "Zombie" because the most literal reading is how Zack Snyder takes all of his movies. And, like, I think someone broke down, like, okay, the song Zombie by the Cranberries is not literally about zombies. It's about, I think, like, the troubles during Northern Ireland. I put, like, you know, a quote from one of the writers below to confirm exactly what it is about. But it's definitely not about zombies. And someone pointed that out, like, it really does sum up Zack Snyder as a creator, that he just hears a song called Zombie and just puts that in his movie with zombies in it. And that's about the level of thought he had. And then a response that I will never forget is, A, it's not up to you to interpret the meaning of media and what the intent and what the creator meant by it. And it's like,
wow,
that's what he's doing. It's what he's doing. And then he went and made Rebel Moon. And my friend who works for Warhammer is like, I don't know how he didn't get fucking sued.
I haven't seen it. I don't like Zack Snyder.
Sucks. It sucks ass. Not even in a good way. Not even in a good, bad way. Which is what you get when you get overacting. So any examples of overacting from yourself, Eric?
I enjoy a good Jim Carrey performance as well.
Except for when, like, you know, other people on the production don't like that. We've got to mention the famous quote where it's Tommy Lee Jones in that Batman movie they were both on, where, like, Jim Carrey walks over in full, like, Riddler outfit, just screaming like a dickhead, and Tommy Lee Jones, according to legend, just said, "I cannot sanction your buffoonery," and walked away. I just love that. That's such a Tommy Lee Jones thing to do. I think so.
He was supposed to. Jim Carrey wanted to do a more serious portrayal.
Yeah, I can see that. You know, Jim Carrey's like a really good dramatic actor. I also think as well he'd have been a better Two-Face, because Jim Carrey has that weird thing where he just manipulate his face so well. You could have done a really interesting Two-Face where you wouldn't need to do the stupid, really obvious half his face is melted shtick.
Right.
You could have had Jim Carrey literally just morph his face.
So sick of that guy. Okay, hey, come on out here. Let's settle this the old-fashioned way. Come on! I may not be tough, but damn it, I can get good and mad. Come on.
Stop it, man! You're scaring me.
What's the matter?
Get off.
When he was like in his evil persona, the same way with like Willem Dafoe. I don't understand how they got one of the most expressive, like just characterful faces in the industry in Willem Dafoe, made him play the Green Goblin, and then put a fucking plastic mask on his face.
You look like a fucking Power Ranger.
Yeah, that's it. He looks more like a demon when he's just Willem Dafoe.
Power beyond your wildest dreams, and it's only the beginning. There's only one who can stop us. Or a
yeah, because in the comics, Green Goblin's just got a regular latex mask or whatever.
He just wears a Halloween mask, yeah. He's done, but
yeah.
You know, just those two performances are fantastic. And again, on its own, let us know your favourite. Just absolutely just gnawing on the scenery performance. But we're not talking about the act of phoning it in. We're talking about literally phoning it in right now. So what Andy Serkis did on Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, it wasn't phoning in that sense. Like, it was in the literal sense, because his performance as Caesar, like, you know, the big hero chimp of the Rise of the Planet of the Apes series, was done entirely digitally, which allowed them to have a bit more, shall we say, flexibility in how they chose to capture Serkis's performance. So he didn't necessarily always need to be on set. Although for a lot of the film and the sequels, he was, because he likes to be on set to serve as a frame of reference for the actors he's acting against.
Andy Serkis is an incredible actor. He has such an understanding of Caesar from the inside.
And there's all that great behind-the-scenes footage of him just like, you know, like just crawling around like a chimp in his like weird grey suit with all the tennis balls on it. And you got any like favourite motion capture performances in that vein?
I think Andy Serkis again as Gollum? Was he Gollum? Yeah, he was.
All that physicality and find a way to capture that and bring it to the digital character of Gollum.
Are you waiting for like the Gollum sequel?
No.
Excited for that?
No.
Or the animated show?
No, just keep the trilogy as it is. You know, The Hobbit only needed to be a single film.
It did. It was a children's book.
Yeah.
It was a children's story.
One of my wife's favorite.
That little hobbit, and he goes and steals a ring from a dragon. Basically a fairy tale. It didn't need to be 3 movies. I also, like, low-key just hate the live-action Lord of the Rings movies now, because every time any discussion of Lord of the Rings happens, you get fans of those movies acting like they're the core canon of the series.
And the live-action films still had to take a lot of liberties.
They take so many liberties. For example, Aragorn does not look like that in the books as is described by J.R.R. Tolkien. He should not have a beard. He should be 80 years old. He should be 7 feet tall. But yet, people just like, well, no, Aragorn looks like Viggo Mortensen. It's like, no, he does in the movies, but the movies aren't the books, and the books are the core canon. But people, and that's, I've turned so hard on those live-action movies because they just get held up as like, well, that's Lord of the Rings. It's like, no, it's an adaptation. It's a very good one, but it's not the definitive. Like, It annoys me so much. Do you get that?
Sounds like you have feelings.
And Eric, do you have any like examples of that for yourself? Of just people assuming that an adaptation of something is like the core canon?
Absolutely. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is a great fucking example. Cat's getting her breakfast. So in '87, the most famous version of the Ninja Turtles came out.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, heroes in a half shell, turtle power.
And everyone thought that was the original version because no one had read the extremely violent and also hilarious black and white comics from '84.
Yeah, the original comics were a parody of just gritty, dark, grim, dark comic books at the time.
It was parody before Frank Miller decided, I'm going to parody comics in DK2 and do it in an awful way that no one understands is supposed to be parody.
But like the original Ninja Turtles comics were supposed to be a joke. And then, like you said, the series came out in the 80s, and that became what people assume that the Ninja Turtles were always supposed to be. And it's like, no, It's an adaptation. It's an adaptation people have a lot of affinity and nostalgia for, but that's not what the Ninja Turtles are supposed to be.
Right. And to be fair, there are a lot of cool concepts that are created for that show and have been adapted into like the IDW comics and stuff. But
like the colored bandanas, right? That's one.
Right, the colored bandanas.
The Turtles all looked exactly the same and had no real distinguishing features besides the weapons they used.
So Dimension X has also been adapted because there was no Dimension X in the comics. I think also Krang was brought over as like an Utrom warlord in the IDW series, and he's terrifying. He's a badass. They also gave Bebop and Rocksteady a glow up, and they like almost killed Donatello in one issue, and now he has like a metal mechanical shell which is just badass. But in 2003, the animated series that Love It or Hate It was basically based off of the Mirage comics.
So it's based on the original canon. So if anyone wants to argue that it's not true to the Ninja Turtles brand, it's the most true thing that's been like created for the Ninja Turtles brand ever, because it's based on the original comics. Yeah, not the show.
And I had friends say, "No, we don't like those. We like the old Turtles." And it's like these are the old Turtles. They're based on the originals. And like I love that show. The first 4 seasons are really fucking good, and they're well animated too.
You understand my pain then when it comes like the Lord of the Rings things, like, oh well, I think it's like there was like the Rings of Power. People were complaining that like stuff in the Rings of Power was not congruent to the live action films. It's like, no, it's congruent to the books, which is what the series is based on.
Right.
Because that's what Lord of the Rings is. Or there was like some, I think, a crossover with like Magic the Gathering, where they were reinterpreting some of the characters, and they reinterpreted like Aragorn as black. And people go, he looks like Viggo Mortensen in the movie. It's like, but that's not what he looks like in the books. In the books, he's described simply as fair, which you could argue is like fair of skin or just fair of disposition. Also, the books describe him as being 7 feet tall and 80 years old, which Viggo Mortensen is not in those movies, which shows that. And people love that portrayal of Aragorn, and to a lot of people, that's the definitive portrayal. But it looks nothing like how he was described in the books.
Right, and I don't think they ever described his skin color in the books either. Not that it matters. You know, I mean, an artist is just having fun. It's like, this is what I think Aragorn should look like. Good on you. Do that. Like...
But to use the movies as justification for that's not what he looks like. But the movies aren't what he's described as in the books either, which shows that you are okay with someone taking the description and putting their own spin on it and interpreting it in a different way. But you're not okay with someone else doing that, and the only difference between the two is that one is black and one is white. And then when you point out, it's like, no, I just want it to be accurate to the books. Like, so you hate Lord of the Rings live action movies, right then? Because a bunch of shit in that's not congruent to the books. Well, no, that was more, realistic and more true to the source material. Well, Tolkien's son said that his dad would have fucking hated those movies. How do you feel now? That the closest thing we have to the prime, source of all this knowledge and the universe and the canon says that they would have fucking hated it. So now you hate it, right? No, those movies are good. Okay.
Got it. You just don't like black people.
That's the thing. It's like, as Lucas always says, like, just say it. It would be so much easier for this conversation if you just said it. Because everyone knows what you're trying to say, and pussyfooting around it isn't fooling anybody. And speaking of, pussyfooting around something, we have Andy Serkis in his performance as Caesar the Wonder Ape. So, as mentioned, like, he could just film, on location if he wanted to, wearing his, the weird CGI suit, but the nature of, the way they captured his performance meant that they could, if they really wanted to, just capture on a soundstage, or, in some cases, just via Skype. So, the story goes that when they were making that first reboot Planet of the Apes movie, they had an ending that they didn't like, and okay, let's make a new ending. But everyone's gone home, everyone's in different countries now. The fuck do we do? And I know. Well, Andy Serkis, his character's entirely CGI, right? It's yeah, and we have all the reference stuff for his facial capture, right? Yeah. Okay, so get him to call in. What? We don't need Andy Serkis here, we just need his audio and some facial reference. And we don't need any of the special camera stuff because we already have all that. We just need to film him talking. Just call him on Skype. So that's literally what they did. They just called in Andy Serkis on Skype and he phoned in his performance for the final shot of the movie. Literally phoned it in.
See, I thought you were gonna... I didn't know where you were going with this, so that's wild.
Literally phoned in his performance. And that's not the only time they did that, because once they realised that was a thing they could do, every time they needed to have just someone on set react to Caesar, or an ape, or a gorilla, or one of the other primate characters, and they didn't have a motion capture actor on set, they could just call up Andy Serkis, put him on a laptop screen on Skype, and then hold him and move him around for actors to react to. And use that as reference. So instead of the tennis ball on a stick, there's Andy Serkis on a laptop and just moved him around.
There you go.
And,
Special effects, baby.
So the next time you hear somebody say, acting isn't that easy, remind them, well, sometimes it involves making chimp noises into a microphone for 40 minutes on Skype. So it kind of is. Sometimes.
I'm Andy Serkis, and this is how you play a talking ape believably.
So far away, Eric, we've not really... This drilling, oh god, do you know what the worst bit was? The day I got confirmation that I owned this place, I got woken up by the guy drilling into the wall next to my bed, that wall there. And I thought the world was ending. And I woke up and it was like 7 in the morning. What the fuck is going on? And I check my phone, see what time it is. See, I've got 4 missed messages. Look at one. Oh, Mr. Smallwood, we can confirm that the exchange of deeds has gone through. You now own the property. Congratulations. And I just looked to the side of my wall and thought, if he caves in my wall on the first day I own this place, I'm going to be so pissed. So I just had the image of him just coming through the wall.
Right.
And he's like, okay, now I've got to pay for this.
Carl, lower your camera.
Lower.
It's way up.
Well, the thing is that I'm not using this for the recording.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is just a webcam to talk to you. But so that's why we're making fact-themed videos again, because hell yeah, I've got a mortgage to pay and I want to help out my friends by promoting their stuff. So Eric, what would you like to promote on the fact-themed channel right now?
Yeah, go ahead and check out my Storyrant channel, which is starting to pop off with the algorithm, which is fun. I've got a hour-long alien video essay, so if you like me raging about Prometheus, you'll love the rest of it. And I've got a follow-up coming out too, so hopefully YouTube doesn't age-gate that while it's, getting impressions.
Yes, and that's kind of why we today we've been ranting and complaining about movies and the way people interpret them, because I think we're both a huge fan of. You are a sci-fi author by trade, yes, so you are a huge fan of that as a genre. You have many things to say that come from a seasoned perspective that often is not heard online, because I think it's safe to say when a lot of movie criticism and criticism of media online comes from people who are there's very few movie critics on YouTube that I actually think the opinion of matters.
I've got 2 that I like, not including you because you're my friend, but I don't even think my criticism cosmic horror, right?
So I've got a degree in media theory, so I understand how movies are made.
And really, even in video essays where I'm talking about how something is quote unquote bad, that's my opinion. That's from my perspective. You might love Alien Resurrection or something, and I don't disparage you for that. There's probably a reason why you enjoy that.
I like it because I like it because it's entertainingly bad.
Yeah, it is entertainingly bad. But if you're talking about the original Alien being a cosmic horror film, written by Dan O'Bannon and Giger and Ridley Scott, as they came together, the 3 of them, to make what is thematically a cosmic horror film, the rest of the series doesn't match up with that at all.
Yes,
and
it's totally
Ridley Scott seems to have forgotten that.
Yeah, when he made Prometheus, and it's oh dear, Ridley Scott.
I've already got 6,000 words in the next one. I have a lot to say about Prometheus.
My background is in media theory, and I did numerous modules on representation within media and how media is constructed to get across a certain narrative or viewpoint. So that's something that I am keenly aware of and often look out for in movies, and that's why often I get frustrated when it comes to interpretations of media that people claim is one way, when you can clearly tell if you have even the most basic level of knowledge on how media is constructed. No, that's not the message they're going for. Starship Troopers being the one that blew up a while ago of just weird right-wing people saying it's not a satire of right-wing politics. It's it literally is. Paul Verhoeven, the director, has said that.
To show that these people are really in their heart, or without knowing it, I would say, they're on their way to fascism. So it was telling one story is these guys are great and wonderful heroes, and the other story was, by the way, they're fascist.